In the 1990s, a small company called Sega made an interesting console called the Sega Genesis. But Nintendo had a mascot, Mario, and Sega realized if the Genesis was going to sell well, it needed a mascot. So they made the world's fastest hedgehog, Sonic. Today, I'm going to show you every single Sonic game that's ever been made and what made this speedy little hedgehog so special. Let's jump right in. The first game Sonic starred in was simply named Sonic the Hedgehog. It came out in 1991 for the Sega Genesis. This game was famous for fast-paced platforming and the iconic Green Hill Zone. It used a unique momentum-based physics system and featured 6 zones with 3 levels each. This game was a huge hit and the best-selling game on the Genesis. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 added Sonic's sidekick, Tails, as a second playable character. It also introduced the spin dash move and bigger, more detailed levels. This is the second best-selling Genesis game, after the first Sonic game. Sonic CD came out in 1993 for the Sega CD. It was an attachment for the Sega Genesis that let the system use optical media for more advanced cutscenes. This game introduced Sonic's girlfriend, Amy Rose, and Metal Sonic, Sonic's rival. This game featured a time travel system to change the future of the level, which was pretty interesting. This game also made a huge graphical leap with anime-style opening and ending cutscenes, thanks to the storage afforded by the optical media. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 introduced Knuckles the Echidna as a new rival for Sonic. It added save files for the first time in the series and larger, more complex levels. It's rumored that Michael Jackson was part of producing the music for this game. Sonic and Knuckles is basically part 2 of Sonic the Hedgehog 3. It featured an interesting technology called Lock-On, which lets you connect the Sonic 3 cartridge to the Sonic and Knuckles game. This made a game that was twice the size. This gave Knuckles his first starring role in a game, and showed off Sega's creativity in making hardware that could connect to other hardware. Pretty cool, right? Sonic 3D Blast is the first 3D Sonic game. It wasn't fully 3D, but it was very close. It released on both the Genesis and Saturn, except each version had a different soundtrack. This game introduced a lot of mechanics that are still used in 3D Sonic games today. Sonic Adventure was the first fully 3D Sonic game, as well as the first one on the Dreamcast. You could play as 6 different characters, and it had massive hub worlds alongside fast action stages. This game was a launch showcase for the Dreamcast. Sonic Adventure 2 was the last Sonic game on a Sega console. It introduced Shadow the Hedgehog and Rogue the Bat, and focused on 2 different storylines, the Hero storyline and the Dark storyline. This game removed hub worlds to make the game a lot faster. It also released on the GameCube a year later. Sonic Advance was the first Sonic game released on a Nintendo system. It returned to 2D platforming, and featured Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. This game could also connect to GameCube Sonic games to transfer KO between games. Sonic Advance 2 introduced Cream the Rabbit as a new character. The levels were faster and larger, but were brutally difficult. Sonic Heroes was the first 3D Sonic game released on multiple consoles. It focused on team-based gameplay with 12 characters in 4 groups. It was fun, but it was criticized for having bad controls and tough-to-use camera. Sonic Advance 3 added a tag team system, where 2 characters could pair up. The story centered on Dr. Eggman more than the earlier ones, and it featured more hub maps. This was the final Sonic Advance game. Shadow the Hedgehog is an interesting one. It's a spin-off game for the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox, featuring Shadow as the lead character. This game introduced some crazy new things to the Sonic franchise, such as guns, vehicles, and a morality system. You could choose to be good or bad, and you could get different endings depending on what you picked. This game was controversial, but it sold very well. Sonic the Hedgehog came out in 2006, on Sonic's 15th anniversary. This game was notorious for glitches, rushed development, a strange subplot, and bad controls. It's often remembered as one of the weakest Sonic games. Sonic and the Secret Rings was a Wii-exclusive game. It was the first game in the Sonic Storybook series, which placed Sonic back in time in the Middle East. It got mixed reception, but it had a very unique style. It was controlled entirely with the Wii's motion controls. Sonic Unleashed came out on pretty much every system you can think of in 2009. It introduced Sega's new Hedgehog engine, a proprietary game engine for better graphics. In this game, Sonic can transform into a werewolf, which was pretty divisive among fans. People didn't like that. The levels in this game could be played in either day or night variation, with different difficulty and mechanics. Sonic and the Black Knight is the second Sonic Storybook game. It's set in a King Arthur-style legend. Sonic uses a talking sword in this game, Caliburn, and the Wii's motion control was the main gimmick of this game. This was the second and the last Sonic Storybook game. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 is a sequel to the original Sonic games, except it released like 15 years later. It was released in 2 different parts digitally, and it captured the classic 2D gameplay with modern graphics. It was criticized for having bad physics. Sonic Colors introduced the Wisp's power-up, and it only came out on the DS and Wii. It was widely seen as a return to the Sonic series' original form after a few rough years of bad games. This game was later remade as Sonic Colors Ultimate. Sonic Generations celebrated Sonic's 20th anniversary. You could play as either classic 2D Sonic or modern 3D Sonic, and it remade levels from across the series' history. This is my favorite Sonic game. It's actually an amazing game, and if you haven't played it, you should check it out. It's a great introduction to the Sonic series. Sonic Lost World came out for the Wii U. It was heavily inspired by Mario Galaxy, using spherical level designs and parkour mechanics. This game got mixed reviews, but it added a lot of new mechanics to the series. Sonic Mania was developed by a famous Sonic mod developer, who turned a professional game developer. This game brought back 2D sprite-based Sonic with new twists. It was originally meant to be released for mobile devices, but got ported to consoles. Sonic Forces combined modern and classic Sonic gameplay with a new avatar mode, letting you create your own character. It had a much darker story than earlier Sonic games, and it had short levels. It got mixed reviews, but it sold very well. Sonic Frontiers came out on every single platform you can think of in 2022. This is the first open-world Sonic game, heavily inspired by Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This game is really fun, and it's a humongous game. If you're a fan of Breath of the Wild and Sonic, you should definitely try it. Sonic Superstars was a new 2D Sonic game with 3D visuals. It was the first Sonic game with 4-player co-op. This game was released in the same week as Mario Wonder, and they are similar games, although Mario Wonder vastly outsold it. Shadow Generations came out alongside a remaster of Sonic Generations. This game revisits iconic levels from Shadow the Hedgehog's past. If you're a Shadow fan, I would check this one out. There you have it. That is the entire timeline of Sonic the Hedgehog games. There's been so many. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I'll see you next time.